UFC 303 Pereira versus Prochazka just wrapped up. Let's recap the entire card from top to bottom. And real quick, help me get to 1,000 subscribers. We're like 600 away, I believe. I'm going to be posting on this account every other day at the minimum. So click that follow button. It is literally 2:57 in the morning. But we're still going to get this video out, man. I don't know when it'll come out. Probably like, I don't know, I'll set it to like 7 a.m. or something weird like that. But let's jump right into it with the prelim opener of Ricky Simón versus Vinicius Oliveira. Vinicius Oliveira gets the unanimous decision victory. And overall, it was an impressive performance from Vinicius Oliveira. In the first round, he had a lot more output compared to Ricky Simón, was landing the cleaner strikes on the feet. He was mixing in those leg kicks, as I said. Or as I didn't even say that, but he's mixing in the leg kicks. It's 3 in the morning. Give me a damn break. And Ricky Simón wasn't really throwing strikes. He looked pretty hesitant. And it's crazy because Ricky Simón used to be like headlining cards, and now he's kind of fallen off. Wasn't great in the first round. Vinicius Oliveira was just applying more pressure, using the leg kicks, throwing more output. And in the second round, kind of similar to the first, Ricky Simón was kind of getting into the fight a little bit. He was landing more. The right hand was there on multiple occasions because I do not believe Vinicius Oliveira's striking defense was that good. I feel like he could be exposed a little bit, but at the same time, Oliveira was still throwing more. He was still landing more. Ricky Simón was starting to check those low kicks, but they were still adding up. And at the end of that second round, one of the checked leg kicks really hurt Vinicius Oliveira, and you could tell his leg was definitely hurt, and you can make the argument that Ricky Simón ended up winning that round, even though I think only one judge gave him the second round. But you could definitely make the argument because that was the most damage in the round. And in the third round, kind of the same thing. Vinicius was landing more, mixing in the body and the head kicks. Simón kind of fell off in terms of his skills. I don't really know what happened. As I said, he was headlining cards, not pay-per-views. Fuck no. He was headlining cards. He was fighting guys like Merab Dvalishvili. Almost won that fight. He fought, Song Yadong not too long ago, and now he's losing unanimous decisions to Vinicius Oliveira. He, did more. He was barking more on stage than compared to the fight. Vinicius Jr. I called him Vinicius Jr. Holy fuck. But Vinicius Oliveira threw a Rabona kick in the fight, so might as well call him Vinicius Jr. But overall, solid performance from Vinicius Oliveira. Had a lot of output, was mixing in the strikes, the kicks, all of that. And his striking, or his takedown defense, looked a lot better compared to previous fights. Vinicius Oliveira gets the unanimous decision victory. Next up, Ray Tsuruya versus Carlos Hernandez. What an incredible fight. Ray Tsuruya is the real deal, and he's one of the best grapplers in the UFC. The scrambling exchanges, the grappling exchanges in this fight were absolutely incredible. Tsuruya's, I don't even know how to phrase. The timing of his takedowns were absolutely incredible. You guys can probably tell I'm tired. I am fucking exhausted, but we're getting this video out. I don't give a fuck. We're here. Ray Tsuruya's, timing on the takedowns were absolutely beautiful. He was going from, twisters to triangles. Incredible. And I do think he's going to be, you could say, the first guy to have multiple twister submissions on his resume. You really can. And in the second round, my TV lagged, so I don't even really know what happened for the first 2 minutes of the second round. But Tsuruya, he was really trying to look for that twister. He wanted that 50K. He got the arm of Hernandez around his head, but then Hernandez broke out and got the leg free. So the twister wasn't really there, but he was definitely looking for it. Ray Tsuruya's chain grappling and just the jiu-jitsu, the BJJ threat was on another level. But credit to Carlos Hernandez because his grappling defense was really, really solid. Ray Tsuruya, as I said already, I think he's one of the best grapplers in the UFC. I know it's very soon to say, but how could you not watch a performance like that and say he isn't? It's actually incredible. And in that third round, immediate takedown from Tsuruya, but Hernandez ended up getting on top. Tsuruya got up with 2 minutes left. but Hernandez was ultimately able to control him against the fence. I feel like Hernandez definitely needed a finish, but he kind of just rode out the rest of the fight. But all in all, Tsuruya is the motherfucking man. He's really good, one of the best grapplers in the UFC. That fight had some of the best grappling exchanges I've seen in a really, really long time. Tsuruya gets the unanimous decision victory. Moving up on the card, oh Lord have mercy, Andre Arlovski versus Martin Buday. Both guys absolutely suck. That's literally the one thing I wrote for this fight. Both guys absolutely suck. They didn't really do much on the feet. Buday, I guess won the clinch exchanges, sort of. Andre Arlovski is 45 years old. The dude's an old man. Both guys, stuck in the cement. They're working for a paycheck. They're working their 9 to 5. Buddy's working for a paycheck. He is working that 9 to 5. But I guess Buday looked a little bit crisper on the feet. I literally wrote this as well. Daniel Cormier, I think it was in the 3rd round, says, "There you go, Buday. Punch." Like, this is what we're talking about. Buday is here for the paycheck. As I said, he's working that 9 to 5. And the funniest thing about this fight was the spinning back kick from Arlovski was just in the 3rd round. That was the worst spinning back kick I've ever seen. Martin Buday does get the split decision victory, but that was a god-awful fight. One of the worst fights I've ever seen. You just compared the Tsuruya and Carlos Hernandez fight to the Andre Arlovski and Martin Buday fight, and it's just like, it shows you the problems in the heavyweight division. The heavyweight division is god awful. Moving up on the card, Michelle Waterson-Gomez versus Jillian Robertson. Jillian Robertson gets the unanimous decision victory. Jillian Robertson looked incredible in this fight. I think especially her striking. I know we didn't get to see a lot of it, but it definitely looked a lot improved. Her striking looked crisper, and her wrestling dominant as hell. So dominant. She was getting into all types of advantageous positions. She was throwing up all types of submissions. I think she got Michelle Waterson-Gomez in a crucifix and then was landing nasty elbows. Was landing elbows every single round. Nasty ground and pound for 3 straight rounds. And she did win every round 10-8 in my opinion. Just on another level. On another level, Jillian Robertson. She's starting to level up her game. She's young. She's starting to come up. And she looks like a serious threat in that strawweight division. And for Michelle Waterson-Gomez, she didn't put up, that big of a fight. But she did get a nice ovation by the crowd at the end. Got a nice little video. It's deserved, right? It's deserved. 18-12 record, MMA record, pro record. Decent career for Michelle Waterson-Gomez. She gave us a few fun fights, so can't knock that at all. Nice career for Michelle Waterson-Gomez, and Jillian Robertson looked good as hell. Moving up on the card, Peyton Talbott versus Yanis Ghemmouri. Yeah, Peyton Talbott. I said Talbot. Peyton Talbott is, I said it again. Fuck, it's late. Peyton Talbott is that motherfucker. Peyton Talbott is that guy. He knocks out Yanis Ghemmouri in 19 seconds. He threw the 1-2. The jab partially lands, and then that right hand flush on Yanis Ghemmouri's chin sits down Yanis Ghemmouri, and then Peyton Talbott puts him out cold with a few ground and pound shots. Peyton Talbott is the real deal. He calls out Adrian Yanez, and I feel like that's a really fun fight, man. I think that's a really, really fun fight. I think Peyton Talbott destroys him in the 1st round, but fuck it. Let's see it. Let's see it, man. Peyton Talbott is that guy. I think he's going to have a very, very entertaining and interesting UFC career, so I'm intrigued on where he goes next. I'm guessing that Adrian Yanez fights next. On Twitter, Yanez was interested, and then, of course, obviously, Peyton Talbott called him out, so he's interested. So make that fight. Make that fight. Peyton Talbott will eventually, or this fight, this upcoming fight, if it happens, will be his first ranked opponent. So that'll be very interesting. Peyton Talbott, 19-second KO. He is the real deal. The hype is real, and I'm happy for him. He seems like a pretty chill dude. Moving up on the card, Charles Jourdain versus Gene Silva. Gene Silva gets the 2nd round knockout. Yeah, Really, really good performance from Gene Silva. Only 2 fights in the UFC. He's on a 10-fight win streak, I believe, but really good performance. Charles Jourdain, yeah, I don't know what to think about them. I don't know what to think about him. Very kick-based attacks or game plan, you could say. He was throwing a lot of volume, but you could tell the shots weren't really affecting Gene Silva, and the power coming back Charles Jourdain's way was just another level. Just another level. Gene Silva's got a ton of power. He floored Charles Jourdain in that first round, and then in that second round, off the break of the clinch, beautiful uppercut with the right hand, and then he TKOs Charles Jourdain, the first ever guy to finish Charles Jourdain, I believe. Or maybe that's actually the first guy to KO Charles Jourdain, but Gene Silva, man, looking really good. The power's there. 10-fight win streak, only second fight in the UFC, so I'm interested to see where he goes from here, because Charles Jourdain is not a bad fighter. He's pretty damn good, and for your second fight in the UFC, it's a pretty high-level guy, so let's see where Gene Silva goes from here. He gets the second round knockout. Great performance from him. Moving up on the card, Cub Swanson versus Andre Fili. Andre Fili gets the split decision victory, and I do not agree. I fully believe Cub Swanson should have won that fight. It was an interesting fight. You could tell it was 2 completely different game plans. Fili wanted to use his range, stay on the outside, use his kicks, and slow the fight down. Anytime Cub Swanson was pushing the pace, getting into the pocket, landing his boxing combinations, Andre Fili went for the takedown. He got the takedown a few times, but Cub Swanson, for being 40 years old, looked good as hell. He looked in shape. He was getting up. He was sprawling well. He was getting on the inside of Andre Fili very well while staying, defensively sound. He was landing his boxing combinations. His boxing definitely looked better than Andre Fili, and I believe through the 3 rounds, he landed the harder shots. He was landing more shots. He was more aggressive. He was pushing the pace a lot more than Andre Fili. Andre Fili really wanted to slow that fight down, fight at range, and Cub Swanson said, fuck that. I ain't doing that. I'm going to fight you. And he did just that. I personally thought Cub Swanson should have won that fight. For 40 years old, he looked really damn good. Not sure how the judges give Andre Fili a split decision victory. I just don't understand it. Moving up on the card, Joe Pyfer versus Marc-Andre Barriault. Joe Pyfer gets the brutal round 1 knockout. Yeah, he looked great. Of course, he had to bounce back from that loss to, how am I forgetting his name? Jack Hermansson. Yeah, I'm just really, really dumb. Didn't look great against Jack Hermansson, and he was in need of a big bounce back, and he did that. He was walking down Marc-Andre Barriault. He was showing patience, and then early into that first round, he throws an overhand. It hurts Marc-Andre Barriault. He's stumbling against the fence, and then Joe Pyfer just pounces on him, hits him with 2 right hands. One right hand that is going to send him to a knockdown, and then the second right hand puts him out cold, face first on the canvas. Marc-Andre Barriault out cold. And I'm going to say it. Joe Pyfer has some of the craziest power we've ever seen in the UFC, pound for pound wise. I know he broke Francis Ngannou's record on the punch machine, but he proves it and he shows it in the fights, man. The dude's got a ton of power. I'm happy for Joe Pyfer. He was in need of a big bounce back because, when you get all this hype and you got so much power and you're losing to Jack Hermansson, it's just not a good look. So for Joe Pyfer's sake, I'm happy for him. Marc-Andre Barriault is just, I don't know what to say. Canada, I'm sorry, man. Moving up on the card to the main card opener of Ian Machado Garry versus Michael Venom Page. Ian Garry gets the unanimous decision victory, 29-28 on all scorecards. And yes, that was absolutely the correct decision. Ian Machado Garry won rounds 1 and 3, and if you think otherwise, you're absolutely delusional. I know you guys are going to say, oh, you're glazing. But no, man, it's just obvious. If you understand what's going on, Ian Garry won rounds 1 through 3. Ian Garry, didn't look great on the feet. Michael Venom Page was low-key piecing him up, but at the same time, he showed a lot of good things on the ground. He's not really going to see a guy like Michael Venom Page when he's flying up the rankings now. So I feel like it's good for us that he showed us that grappling. So I don't think it's that bad of a performance from Ian Garry. I know so many people are going to shit on him because they're just dumb, but it's whatever. Nothing really happened in the feet in the first round. Ian Garry was able to get the fight on the ground, and he almost had a rear naked choke. I personally thought he was going to finish the fight, and if anything, this fight showed us that Michael Venom Page doesn't know a damn thing on the ground. Not a damn thing. He seemed like a fish out of water, but he survived the first round. I guess he defended well, but he didn't really fight the body lock at all in the first round, and somehow he survived the rear naked choke. But in the second round, Michael Venom Page looked good. I will say one thing. I was kind of underrating Michael Venom Page for a while because I thought his striking wasn't as good as people were talking about, but he pieced up Ian Garry in the second round. His range was there. He was throwing the 1-2, and Ian Garry all fight week was saying about, oh, I'm faster than Michael Venom Page. I'm this, I'm that, but MVP for being 37 years old, he is a fast dude, and he was piecing up Ian Garry, really clean strikes, was landing crisp 1-2s, and he absolutely won that second round. Now, I will say one thing. I wish Ian Garry used his low kicks more, but I understand why, because as Ian Garry throws those low kicks, I feel like Michael Venom Page would have exploded into his shot, so I understand why, but the third round was the decider. Ian Garry failed the takedown. Michael Venom Page got on top, but this is where he lost the fight. He didn't do anything on top. Michael Venom Page didn't do a damn thing on top, and Ian Garry was, staying close to him. He was landing elbows. Excuse me. Ian Garry was landing elbows and all that from bottom, and that's, kind of helped him eke out the decision. And then he eventually, got on top. He got the back again of, did he even get the back? I'm kind of forgetting. What happened in that third round? This is bad of me. But I do believe he got the back of Michael Venom Page in the third. Oh, yeah, he did, because he was high on the body. He wasn't really going to find a rear naked choke. I feel like MVP could have just, slid him off of him, but he just didn't do that. Yet again, MVP, fish out of water. But the fact that Ian Garry was landing elbows from bottom and he was attacking a rear naked choke just won him the round for me. He was way more active than Michael Venom Page in that third round. And if anyone thinks that MVP, should have won that fight, you're just delusional, man. You're absolutely delusional. MVP gets it done. Maybe a Shavkat Rakhmonov fight next. I know Shavkat called him out on Twitter, and I wouldn't, think Ian Garry would be opposed to that matchup. I feel like Ian Garry would want that matchup. So, keep an eye out for Shavkat and Ian Garry in the near future. For that fight, yeah, I'm going Shavkat. Yeah. I'm going Shavkat Rakhmonov. Moving up on the card, Mayra Bueno Silva versus Macy Chiasson. Macy Chiasson wins by second round TKO / doctor stoppage. Yeah, that was a decent little fight. Macy Chiasson looked like the better striker. She was landing with volume. She was applying the pressure, but Mayra Bueno Silva, who is now on a 2-fight skid, didn't look that bad. She was landing nice knees and elbows in the tie clinch. You could tell her shots, caused a lot more damage compared to Macy Chiasson. Of course, Chiasson was landing at volume and was landing kicks and everything, but when Mayra Bueno Silva hit her, you could tell that they were powerful shots. But in that second round, early into that second round, Macy Chiasson goes for the takedown, gets on top, and lands a nasty elbow and cuts Mayra Bueno Silva wide open. And that's eventually what led to the doctor stopping the fight. They did a few more things on the ground for a little bit, and then when Mayra Bueno Silva worked her way back up to the feet, doctor was called in, and that's all she wrote. I'm pretty sure the doctor said how the cut was so deep it was near the bone. So at that point, yeah, let's not fuck around, boys. Let's call that fight. Now it's not RoboCop level, but if it's near the bone, yeah, let's not mess with that. You could tell it was a deep cut. Macy Chiasson, though, she's looking pretty good, man. She has the wrestling. She could strike as well. She's a volume striker, and I think she could, cause some damage in in the division, man. I don't think she's all that bad. Macy Chiasson wins by second round doctor stoppage. Interested to see where both ladies go from here. Bueno Silva, of course, fought for the title, and now she lost again. We'll see where she goes from here. But moving up on the card, Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze. On paper, guys, on paper, I beat Alex Pereira. My style matches up well against him. On paper, and I think when I'm on, I could go in there and beat Alex Pereira. I'm fully confident of my skills. I think I'm a stylistic nightmare for Pereira. I don't think he'd want to mess with me. Yeah, that's Anthony Smith, the guy that just lost to Roman Dolidze. It was a leg kick battle, no real movement. Both guys were heavy on their feet. But I will say one thing. It was at 205. Roman Dolidze is a natural middleweight, and his striking did look improved. Roman Dolidze, before this fight, was an awful striker. He did look kind of improved, though. And then in the second round, sorry, I just had a notification on my phone. In the second round, Dolidze landed a nice shot. It seemed to hurt Anthony Smith a little bit, but Anthony Smith slipped and showed no real urgency to get back up to his feet. And then Roman Dolidze was actually landing some nice ground and pound. It's clear that, Anthony Smith, I don't know what to say, but he's here for a paycheck. He's working that 9 to 5. Showed no urgency, terrible striker. Anthony Smith was gassed in the third round. If I had to, give one thing to him, he survived, I guess. But Roman Dolidze gets it done. He called out Khamzat Chimaev. That's never fucking happening. But he did look kind of improved. I think he is going to go back to 185 pounds, but he didn't look all too bad. Moving up on the card to the co-main event of the evening. Diego Lopes versus... not Brian Ortega. Oh, shit. Diego Lopes versus Dan motherfucking Ige. Dan Ige is the BMF of the UFC. I don't care about that Sean Strickland, I'll fight anyone, anywhere, then openly ducks Robert Whittaker in the most obvious number one contenders fight of all time, or, we're gonna go to war. We're gonna go to war for you guys. Let's fucking go. And then he throws a jab and a teep kick for 25 minutes. No, get that shit out of here. Dan Ige is the BMF of the UFC. This guy took this fight on 3 weeks' notice. This dude could have been taking a damn nap and his phone would have been ringing from Hunter Campbell. Get over to the T-Mobile Arena. You're fighting Diego Lopes on three hours' notice. This dude had to weigh in at 160-something pounds, and he did it. And he put on a performance, man. If Dan Ige were to win this fight, I'd call it the most historic win in UFC history. Is it that crazy to say? Until Alex Pereira knocks out John Jones and becomes a 3-weight champion, if Dan Ige won, it would have been the most historic win in UFC history. First round, Diego Lopes, best round of the fight. He looked good. He was landing his combinations. He was landing the knees up the middle. He fights like a pit bull, man. He fights like a pit bull. Now, I don't think he has the boxing technique of Ilia Topuria, but he makes it work. And he's quick with his combination, throws a lot of hooks, throws the knees, throws the elbows, was looking fast. He was looking great. Dan Ige couldn't really get much going, wasn't really landing all too much on Diego Lopes. He was slow into the fight, but he worked himself, into the second and third round. Dan Ige had moments in the first, but it wasn't really anything. But second round, third round, as I said, Dan Ige was starting to land his boxing combinations. Lopes got the fight to the ground. He was, looking for a Darce choke in the second, didn't really get it. But in that second round, Dan Ige was starting to land. He was starting to come on. And then in that third round, it was all Dan motherfucking Ige. It was all Dan Ige. He was landing his boxing combinations. He was landing hard shots. He was pressing forward. He got the fight to the ground for a second. He was landing ground and pound at the end of the third. Diego Lopes looked gassed. But ultimately, Diego Lopes did enough to get the 29-28 unanimous decision victory. Props to both men. Absolute dogs. Dan Ige taking this fight on 3 weeks notice, or 3 weeks notice. Screw that. 3 hours notice. Dan Ige, the first guy to ever do that. 3 hours notice, pulls through, saves the co-main event. Round of applause. That's like the only round of applause I'm ever going to give on this channel. That's to Dan Ige. And, Diego Lopes as well. The dude was supposed to fight at 145 pounds on short notice against Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega can't make weight, so we're fighting at 155. Diego Lopes gets woken up in the middle of the night at 4 in the morning. Oh, we're fighting at 155. Gets his ass up to 155. Oh, Brian Ortega wakes up with a 103-degree fever. You don't have an opponent right now. Oh, wait, Danny Gay, 3 hours notice. You're fighting him at 160-something pounds. He makes that weight as well. 2 absolute dogs. These are the real BMFs of the UFC. These are the real BMFs. They don't duck anyone. They take any fight at any time. So props to both men. Diego Lopes gets the decision victory. I'm really interested to see where both guys go from here. Dana White did confirm they both will be at the Sphere event, so props to them. They both deserve it. Maybe Diego Lopes versus Movsar Evloev 2. I'm down for that. I know, none of them are in a title fight yet, but I'm down for that rematch, man. I'm down for that rematch. Diego Lopes took the first fight on 5 days' notice and almost beat Movsar Evloev in his UFC debut. I'm like hiccuping and shit. Don't mind that. But yeah, Diego Lopes is the real deal. And shout out to Dan Ige as well. Nothing else I could say. Moving up on the card to the main event. Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prochazka for the light heavyweight championship of the world. Alex Pereira brutally KOs Yuri Prochazka with a flush head kick in round 2. Wow. What is Alex Pereira? What is he? Is he even real? The shit that he's done in 2 years with the UFC will never be replicated. He's the face of the UFC in 2 years. In 2 years. I know I'm saying 2 years, but it's true. In 2 years, he has wins over Sean Strickland, former middleweight champion. Israel Adesanya, former middleweight champion. Jan Blachowicz, former light heavyweight champion. Yuri Prochazka, former light heavyweight champion. Jamal Hill, former light heavyweight champion. And then Yuri Prochazka again, former light heavyweight champion. Some dudes don't even fight 6 times. Most guys don't fight 6 times in 2 years. And this dude has beaten 6 former champions. And I'm ready to say it. He's a top 10 mixed martial artist of all time, top 10 UFC fighter of all time, and the best striker we've ever seen. Get that Anderson Silva bullcrap out of here. He brutally knocks him out. Alex Pereira would brutally knock out Anderson Silva. And I don't want to compare the two, but I have to bring Israel Adesanya into this conversation. At this point, and I'm a big Izzy fan. But at this point in their careers, I'm like visibly tired. Holy fuck. At this point in their careers, Alex Pereira has surpassed Izzy's legacy, in my opinion. He really has. What he's done is absolutely incredible. But let's get on to the fight. Round 1, or real quick, Alex Pereira, best fight of his UFC career, stuck to the game plan to perfection. By far the best performance. So impressed with Alex Pereira. First round was landing the low kicks. They seem to affect Yuri a lot more in this fight compared to the other one. The jab looked really good. His jab looked better than ever. He was fighting in the center of the cage. He wasn't getting backed up. He wasn't, letting Yuri throw the 1-2. He was fighting in the center of the cage in kickboxing range, and he was dictating the pace of the fight. And when you let Alex Pereira do that, it's game over. I know Yuri, initiated the clinch a little bit, but Alex Pereira's defensive grappling is really good, so Yuri couldn't really do anything. Yuri seemed like a fish out of water tonight. Really poor. Yeah, it sucks, man, because it sucks seeing any of these guys lose, Alex Pereira or Yuri Prochazka. I'm interested to see where Yuri goes from here. It really sucks, but I'm getting off topic just a little bit. At the end of the first round, Yuri's got his hands down with like 1 second left. Alex Pereira throws a perfect left hook, and it drops Yuri. Bell rings, and we move on to round 2. Yuri Prochazka, in the corner, he's bouncing. He doesn't really seem like he's all there. And then second round starts, 10-ish seconds in, head kick, KO, ground and pound shots, and Yuri Prochazka is out of there. I think the biggest thing for me is the teep kicks and the low kicks of Alex Pereira really set up that head kick because Yuri was dropping his hands with the teeps, and then Alex was able to go up high with the left high kick. Lands it completely flush on Yuri. I'm surprised Yuri didn't go out cold. I don't know how he doesn't, but Alex Pereira lands it flush, and then Yuri Prochazka gets dropped, of course, obviously gets dropped, and then Alex Pereira finishes it with some ground and pound. And still light heavyweight champion of the world, Alex Pereira. Yuri Prochazka is all over the place, excuse me, hugging Herb Dean, and it sucks to see Yuri like that. It really does, but Alex Pereira continues to impress, continues to prove he is one of one. And yeah, I'm gonna say it. Alex Pereira knocks out Jon Jones. Alex Pereira knocks out Jon Jones, and I want to see that fight. That's the biggest fight in UFC history, and Jon Jones needs to fight Alex Pereira, and Alex Pereira needs to fight Jon Jones. Get this man to heavyweight. I don't care about Magomed Ankalaev. I don't care about who else, Nikita Krylov. Like, I don't care. Get this man fighting Jon Jones right now, and I think he KOs Jon Jones and becomes the first ever 3 weight division champion in the UFC. And if he does that, say he knocks out Jon Jones and becomes a 3 weight division champion, excuse me, you could argue he's the GOAT, and I wouldn't bat an eye. I would not bat an eye if you argue he's the GOAT after KOing Jon Jones. But overall, decent card. I enjoyed it. Some low moments, some very high moments. Alex Pereira steals the show. Yeah, he's another level. Let me know what you guys think of the card down below in the comments. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers. I will be posting on this account every other day at the minimum. Expect this video to go out maybe 7-8-ish a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the morning, and then later in the day I'll have a fights to make after UFC 303 video. Let's go. Alex Pereira, face of the UFC. Let's go. Peace out.